Hello everybody, back for another video, and this time I'm going to review this movie called Ghosts of the Abyss. Ghosts of the Abyss is a 2003, it's actually a documentary film directed by James Cameron that focuses on his, again, in 2001 he chose to go down deep into the North Atlantic to explore the Titanic once again, but this time do a more thorough research on the Titanic itself. He is joined by actor Bill Paxton, who actually has worked with Cameron in the past on The Terminator, Aliens, and of course even on Titanic and True Lies, as they board the Russian research vessel Keldysh, which by the way was seen in the movie Titanic. It's the same vessel used for this movie, and basically Ghosts of the Abyss acts like a sequel to the movie Titanic, almost. So they're kind of like brother and sister films, except Ghosts of the Abyss obviously is nowhere near as lengthy as Titanic is. Yeah, the documentary film goes into deep detail about, literally James Cameron and Bill Paxton essentially go down into the Titanic wreck using little... But while during the voyage, during the experience in the movie, they kind of do like a visual, interspersing with actual people while the ship was, before the ship hit the iceberg and sank. So it's kind of giving us a more scientific approach. And since by then technology has since been, advanced to the point where they can easily take these small mandible submarines and use little mini submarines to go down and explore the Titanic wreck. So again, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, there's not really much to say. Like I said, it's a documentary film made by Disney. This is obviously something James Cameron wanted to do. Cameron had done this. This is actually one of 3 documentary films he did in the throughout the early 2000s. This is actually between the time it took him to shoot when he was making Avatar at the time, because he had actually wanted to get Avatar made right after he had done Titanic, but realized that the technology wasn't available at the time, so he passed the time and he started making these documentary films. Now, there is a documentary film I believe Cameron did direct, but I do not personally own it. It's called Expedition Bismarck. It's really difficult to find. It's actually about him exploring the battleship Bismarck, which I believe sank during World War II, I believe. I'm pretty sure. But it is one of the deepest shipwrecks ever in history. I think it's even deeper than where the Titanic rests. I'm pretty sure. But it's also one of the more famous ones. Next to Titanic, obviously. But Ghosts of the Abyss, yeah, this one talks about the Titanic, and it talks about the history of what happened, the people that were on the ship. And, of course, it's not just, they go back into talking about, what it was like to be on that ship when it hit the iceberg, when it sank, the unimaginable sheer terror that, the passengers were dealing with when this actually happened. But also, as you explore in the movie, as you watch them explore the Titanic wreck, you begin to find interesting things about the ship itself. Like, there are certain things that are still, they actually find a glass window that hasn't even been shattered, which is pretty amazing. They find some pretty amazing stuff that Robert Ballard didn't find, or maybe he found when he first found the Titanic back in 1986, which is pretty amazing. But either way, I mean, this is a pretty fascinating, this is an incredibly fascinating documentary to watch. Obviously, the documentary is mainly for Titanic buffs or anybody who's a James Cameron fan, because, or anybody that's a fan of the movie Titanic, because, like I said, it even uses footage from the movie Titanic for, like, the ship sinking scenes where the ship breaks in half, or when it finally goes underwater at the end. They actually use a lot of the scenes from the movie, but it's also interesting to go back to, and even, of course, the movie is mentioned in the film, but it's all from Bill Paxton's own personal perspective, as he teams up with Cameron to go down and explore the wreck. This is actually not Cameron's first time seeing the Titanic, because he actually had gone down before, but this is actually Bill Paxton's first time. Everybody's like, well, didn't he see the Titanic in the movie? In the movie, but that was all done, with miniatures and underwater footage. They actually didn't use the actual Titanic wreck, or maybe they did. But in this movie, however, they did use the actual wreck. They are actually exploring the real Titanic wreck. So, using the cameras and the technology, yes, what you will see in the film is the real wreck. Unlike in the movie Titanic, where they actually use miniatures to simulate the wreck. But still, that's pretty amazing what they do here. This Blu-ray presentation of the film actually is pretty good. It's a really good release of the movie. It's in 3D for the theatrical release, which inside the disc here, inside the case, are actually 3 discs. Here's the Blu-ray the 3D version. And the second disc is the Blu-ray copy, which contains, by the way, not one but 2 versions of the film. There's actually There's actually 2 versions of the movie available: the theatrical version, which runs just slightly over an hour long, and the 92-minute extended version. The only downside with the Blu-ray the 3D version of the film is only the 60-minute version is available on this one. So the extended version can only be seen on Blu-ray. Just regular Blu-ray. Now the DVD copy that has here does have both versions on it, so theatrical and extended are both on the disc. So yeah, the movie got a very limited release in theaters. So obviously, yes, it did get released theatrically. I never actually got a chance to watch the 3D version because, for one thing, I don't have a 3D TV. My PS3 actually does play 3D Blu-rays, but you'd have to have a 3D TV to play them on. And 3D TVs usually aren't common anymore, so because that fad has since kind of faded on. I mean, 3D is a great it's a great gimmick. It really is, but only in certain movies does it actually work out very well. Only in certain films. I'm not saying that every movie in 3D has to be amazing, but there are some movies that utilize the 3D capability very well. That's just me saying that. So as for the video quality on the disc, honestly, it looks pretty good. There are parts of the film that look really, grainy because they don't use a lot of high def camera footage for some scenes. Like some scenes they actually use standard def, but when filtered through the high def process, it doesn't exactly come out all that well. So there are portions of the film that look amazing, and there are portions of the film that don't look all that great at all. So it's kind of up and down. So for that, I'm going to probably give the video quality out of 5 stars, probably a 4. I mean, it still looks beautiful. It's still a beautiful film to look at. For the audio, yeah, again, it sounds pretty good. It's in the audio is it's in DTS 5.1. Obviously, the movie is in a 178:1 aspect ratio, as you can see. Sorry, let me adjust it here if I can. Yeah, it's in 178:1 widescreen, so it's not in the 235 Panavision the Titanic is in. So, but yeah, the 90-minute version does offer a bunch of extra new things about the movie. So yeah, like I said, unfortunately, it's only available on just the regular Blu-ray, which that's not a bad thing. I mean, it still looks pretty good. The extra footage really does work. As I said, the audio is pretty good. The sound comes out very well. Unfortunately, down inside the wreck, there's not really much in the way of sound. All you're going to be hearing is like the water and all that, so there's not really much in the way of sound. But the dialogue comes out very well. The music sounds pretty good. So this is one movie where it's focusing more on dialogue, not on sound, because there's plenty of dialogue throughout the movie, and it sounds pretty good. So the audio, I would say, also gets a 4 out of 5 for me. As for the bonus features, there's not really a lot to look at on here. I mean, besides having 2 different versions of the movie. All you get for the major material is a documentary called Reflections from the Deep. It's basically bonus footage from the risky dives to the ocean floor, revealing interviews with James Cameron, star Bill Paxton, and the rest of the crew. Louis Abernathy, who is an oceanic explorer, actually worked with Cameron on Titanic. He even appeared in the film too. And I think he may have worked with Cameron on The Abyss as well. I'm pretty sure. If not, if I'm wrong, it's another film that focuses in the deep blue. So, Cameron, shot that in that way. So when, yeah, but I know for a fact he was in Titanic. He was the, yeah, but it's fun to see him again and him going down to see the actual Titanic. So again, it's actually pretty crew. Most of the crew that worked on Ghost of the Abyss, most of them actually were involved with Titanic when the movie came out. As I've said, the research vessel Keldysh was also used in the movie Titanic, and it's used here yet again. But when it comes to the bonus material, there's not really a lot here. It's not as feature-packed as the movie Titanic is, but at least you get the 3D version and the regular Blu-ray plus that documentary, and there's the DVD version. So I would say for the bonus material, I would probably give it maybe 2 out of 5. I mean, because like I said, at least you get 2 versions of the film to watch, regardless of which version you choose to watch. But unfortunately, like I said, only the theatrical version's in 3D, so... For overall, I would say out of 5 stars, this documentary film gets a 4 out of 5. I mean, in the end, I would say it's definitely recommended for Titanic buffs, and it's also the James Cameron fans, or if anybody that likes documentaries, or especially anybody that is a diehard Titanic buff like me. This is a good documentary film to check out. So, if you haven't seen Ghosts of the Abyss, this is a good one to see. And if you actually own a 3D TV, this actually doesn't... I'm sure the 3D effects will come out very well. But, again, only the theatrical version. I know I've said it many times, but yes, only the theatrical cut has is in 3D, so... And I don't know if there is a standalone Blu-ray of the movie, because as far as I know, the only Blu-ray release that is available is the combo pack. That's the one I found that has both the 3D and Blu-ray in it, so... Overall, this is actually a pretty decent release of the film, and it's a good release by Disney. And like I said, it's a good documentary to check out. And it's got a great song that plays in the movie, too, called Darkness, Darkness. If I'm not... I forget the name of the author, the performer, but it's a great song to listen to. And honestly, in some ways, I like it better than My Heart Will Go On. So... Overall, this is a pretty overall solid release of the movie. Good film, good documentary. So overall, definitely worth watching. So as I've said, this is a great companion piece to the movie Titanic. So maybe after watching Titanic, throw this one in for just to get a nicer look at the movie itself, to get an actual look at the real Titanic. And it's also a bit emotional because you're reflecting on all the victims and all the people that have tragically passed during the actual disaster. So it is it is emotional. So overall, it's definitely worth seeing. This concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will continue to do more videos in the days to come. So until then, take care and be safe.